Hi, I wanted to welcome you to the Divorce Planning Podcast. I'm Carri Goldring, and I'm in the mortgage business, and I do planning pre-divorce for people who are either going to refinance their home, do an equity buyout, or plan to purchase a new home and make sure that everything in the divorce decree is worded properly and the numbers in the planning is taken care of so that you can go through the underwriting process smoothly. And I would like to introduce you to other people who are interested in the divorce planning process so you can get a real education of what's involved. Hope you enjoy.
Hi, today I'm lucky enough to have with me a past client of mine who I have now done 2 mortgages for we were just talking within the last year, and I can't believe that we've only known each other a year because it seems so long ago that you went through all that stuff.
It does. It seems like a long time ago, and it goes so quickly too. Like just talking even before the podcast starting here, thinking about everything that's gone on even in just the last year. Yeah, it goes fast, but it's good to be on the other side of it at this point, I will say.
I definitely can imagine, and I know, and it's funny how when you're going through all the crap, and we'll call it crap
Hmm.
because that's what it
Hmm.
is,
Yep.
it seems like it's taking so slow and forever. And we were kind of going through my notes when I first started talking to you, and I was looking at the date, and I said, wow, it's like it has been 11 months. It hasn't even been a year.
Yeah.
And there's so many things that you and I feel like I've known you for so long
Yeah.
now, you know?
Well, we certainly have shared a lot. We've shared the tears and the pain and the heartache and the joy and the laughter in a lot of this stuff too. So it's
We have.
been quite a journey, but
It has been quite a journey, and I'm so
yeah.
happy that you're out on the other side. And then not only did we work through your divorce and
Hmm.
refinance,
Hmm.
which was a process,
Oh yeah.
and then we refinanced you because rates came down.
Right.
And what a
Right.
difference, right, between when you're
Oh, I
going
know.
through divorce and working with your ex-spouse and trying to get everything that we need, and
Yeah.
then another mortgage with just you and I is like night and day, right?
Oh, I know. It was super easy, super efficient and taken care of. I think back to like some of the oh, just the uncertainty, I think, is what gets you. And when you're going through divorce, there's a lot of uncertainty about um, is this going to work out or is that going to work out? Am I going to get to keep my home? And in my case, my older children, my young adult college age kids, and I had moved out, leaving him at the house, and really had been gone for about a year and a half. And so, in working through all of that, there's a lot of uncertainty. Am I getting the house back? Am I not getting the house back? Is that
Right? Is
going
he
to
gonna
work in
burn
my
it
favor?
down? We
Is he?
didn't
Yeah,
know.
exactly. The um and then I don't I know it's different for everyone, going through some of those emotions about do I want the house back, right?
Right.
Like that's even a big one because the kids had grown up there, and even though they're young adults and college age, it was it was a real emotional roller coaster too. And I don't know if a lot of people think about the emotional roller coaster that comes along with that. In Do I want this back? Do I want this house back? Do I want this place where we had spent so many years, and the kids had been raised there? Um, and would a lot of the negative feelings, especially over the last couple of years, the difficulties, the negative feelings, the negative memories, not just for me but for the kids.
Right.
Is that going to be a place that we find peace? Because we hadn't been peaceful there for a really long time, and and doing a lot of soul searching and making that choice that, yeah, I want to try and keep this house. I need to try to keep this house.
Really keeping the home with
Hmm.
those emotions and realizing that the emotions don't stick to the house
Yeah.
is so
Yeah.
much better for the children than
Hmm.
driving back to that house later in life and going, oh, there were
Yes.
so many bad memories there.
Right. Right. It allowed me to kind of bring closure to some, and for the kids too, closure to some of those negative memories. We did a good. I think one of the other things that was really healthy for us was to in getting back to the house was cleaning it out. You
Mm-hmm.
know,
That's a
that's
good feeling, isn't it?
it's very cathartic, like we did that. Um, the kids and I did that together. We rented a giant roll-off dumpster and we got rid of a lot of those things that might have continued to remain as part of that kind of like the negative memories. And so and I made it a point too in going back and in redoing some things and changing some things so that it's home, but it still brings a fresh perspective, a fresh beginning, and good memories and new memories. And so I think that was, but yeah, all of that just within a year.
I know
you
it's
know,
hard. It's
it's
hard
hard to
to believe.
believe. Yeah,
And
it's really
what
hard.
what a lot of people ask me, and I know you're so good at articulating things, you could probably explain this well. I have people say to me, I don't understand, you do mortgages. Why does someone need to talk to me when they're going through a divorce? Why can't you just talk to your own mortgage company, or what is the difference? And are you able to be, I'm thinking you'll put that into better words than I ever do.
Yeah, I think the difference is the personalization of the process because anytime you do a financial transaction, buy a house, buy a car, buy a boat, those kinds of things, any other type of asset or property, it's a transaction, right? And in the heart of it, that is what it is. But when you're going through a divorce, the emotions that kind of surround the process can kind of cloud things for you. And that even though this is a financial decision, there's so much emotion wrapped up in it. It's great to be able to have someone like you and Carrie. You were great to be able to talk to be able to call, and not just talk about the purchase, but to talk about those things that I just mentioned, the emotionality around it, how to get back to the house, do I want to, how do I help my kids through some of that? Um, are the bad memories going to outweigh the good memories? Are the good memories, are there still good memories to make there? Does this make sense for me at the point in my life where I'm at financially? And we were able to have those kinds of conversations that helped sort of kind of clear your mind in a time when it can be really, really uncertain, and emotions. I tend to be someone, thankfully, that doesn't kind of let my emotions run amok or run wild. I tend to try to
Right.
stay grounded, but even for someone like me who's pretty grounded, it's a very emotional time. And I think having someone who specializes in walking through that process together, this is all you do. You don't just
That's
you
all I
yes,
do.
you can do a traditional mortgage for sure. You can do your regular old everyday, purchase of an asset, but it's more than that. It's the guiding through, the talking through the process, and making sure that I was taken care of, and not just taken care of from a client standpoint, but from a human standpoint too. So
Yes.
if
Yes.
I
You,
could put it into words, and I hope I was able to, that's what it really meant to me,
thank you.
to work with you versus just the mortgage department at Chase Bank. No throwing shade on Chase Bank, but
Hmm.
it's different. It's different.
Right. And then we were talking about too how I worked a lot with your ex-spouse
Oh
to
my
get
gosh.
documents that we
Yeah.
needed, which ended up saving you
Mm-hmm.
a lot of attorney costs because I was able to
Oh,
handle it instead of throwing it back
yeah. I
on
mean, that
your
was such a
attorney.
such a difference. And I know every divorce is unique. I was not on speaking terms and still am not on speaking terms with my ex. And that for a variety of reasons that conversation, the contact had to be through attorneys.
Right.
And you know, our attorneys were extremely busy. It was an extremely busy time of year. They were handling a number of cases, and to layer that on top of it just, would have been added cost, added time, added effort for you to be able to step in and be that kind of conduit, the go-between, getting things from him, what we needed for him to be able to produce. It was so helpful. And that we had talked even prior to the podcast. It's almost as though he developed a trust with you too, in terms of getting you the things that were needed. And because the timeline's pretty tight and the
It's
timeline's
pretty
pretty
tight.
short and quick, and things needed to be done and turned in. And, attorneys being so busy like they typically are in with multiple cases going, it's hard to get that turnaround time that you need. So having you with the point of contact for him and the relationship that you were able to develop with him to get that going, that was a game changer. I don't think, and we were even running up against deadlines, even with the communication being pretty open, we were
Yeah.
still running up against deadlines. And it was great to be able to say, Carrie, can you call and find out where this is at? Or you'd tell me, hey, I'm going to call him and find out what, where this document is, or can he produce this? Can he get this for me and fax, not fax, but PDF it over right away? So those
Right.
were, that's another piece that just I wouldn't have gotten had I not gone with you guys.
Well, I'm glad, and I'm so glad that it all worked out. So we have people listening to the podcast who are in the midst of divorce or
Yeah.
contemplating divorce and trying to get educated.
Hmm.
Can you tell what you think you learned from this maybe not even the mortgage
Yeah.
process, but just the process in general that you didn't know that might be able to help somebody else?
If it's something that you're contemplating, I think it's really important to do your homework, to do your research, to get, I mean, in a sense, get your ducks in a row.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Choosing to end a relationship, whether it be a long-term one or a short-term one. In my case, it was a very long-term one. Choosing to do that for mental health and safety reasons and so forth was really important for me and my kids. But again, not entering into it just from an emotional standpoint. Really make sure you get your homework done ahead of time. Find out what you can. If your name is on the mortgage, call the mortgage company and let them know that, hey, I'm just seeking information. I think that was helpful to me to start to dig in and find out the details around our mortgage. We'd had it for so long, and I was someone who trusted my ex-spouse to take care of and handle a lot of the finances. Not that I was ignorant to it, but I was a busy working mom and had my own things going. So I would say do your homework, find out what you can and all of the details about your home, your mortgage, its status, make sure there aren't any other liens against the property. Those were those kinds of things that I know, Carrie, you helped me with when we got into the process too.
Mm-hmm.
But even just trying to dig and find out what I could beforehand, helped me know, which way, because once you get to mediation and you start to talk about property division and asset division, I didn't just want to ask that, hey, I want to be able to keep this. I needed to know that I could keep it.
Right,
So,
and the logistics of how does it
mhm,
all happen? And that I
yep,
think that's the big thing with mediation. And I've seen people go into mediation without even going back and forth with settlement agreements. I've
mhm,
seen them go at the very beginning of divorce. I've seen them go right up until we might go to trial.
mhm,
And I think the more that you are aware of what you can and can't do and what you do and you don't want when you're in mediation is huge because you don't want to be there under all that pressure and
right.
someone to say to you, well, you can't keep your house.
Right.
You want to be able to say, I want it and I already know I can keep it and I already know what my
Correct.
payment is, and
Yep.
or assets. I have people who don't
Mm,
understand um, retirement assets, and some can't be
oh,
split and some can but take time, and some need court orders, and they don't understand all the logistics of all that.
yeah. Yeah.
And why
There
would you,
are,
right? Why would you?
and why would you? Because that's not what you spend your years thinking about, you know? I mean, I never spent my years thinking about those things. And so it was really just like you said, you can't enter into mediation thinking that you want these things. You need to be able to know what you can keep, know what's within the realm of possibility for you. Um, Asset division was huge. That's something that I knew about, but didn't think about it from the sense that like my pension, for instance, needed to be divided. And there were a lot of rules and things around the division of a pension, and that's considered a marital asset during the time that you're married, and those are things that I thought that there was some leverage to bargain and talk through, and some of that's not the case. Some of that's just straightforward. That's just the way the statute's written. That's the way the law goes in the state of Michigan, and that's just there's not a lot of bargaining around that.
Right.
The other piece that I wished I'd known a little bit more about, and that was about spousal support, because my ex-spouse did request spousal support from me, um, and I would have thought that his refusal to work, not his inability to work, his refusal to be employed, um, would have been enough for me to not worry about spousal support. It's like, well, spousal support is there if you can't work. In my mind, right? I always thought, well,
Right.
spousal support is there if you can't work, or if you're um, as a couple you made a decision that someone's going to stay home with children, with young children. And so that wasn't the case. Neither of those things were the case. There was no
Right.
staying home with young children. The kids were in college and in high school at that point. There's no staying home. There was no inability to work. It was a choice not to work.
Right. And it wasn't
um,
a marital choice.
Correct. And it wasn't that both of us made the choice. So it was really very, that really caught me off guard in terms of prep and planning, that me being, gainfully and successfully employed, that I would also then have to be making a monthly payment for someone who chose and made an active choice to not work. Like
That's nasty.
that just didn't seem realistic. That didn't even seem plausible to me, but yet
Right.
it was. And those were things that had to be negotiated as well through the process, through the mediation process, so that and that was, like I said, those were those complicating factors, and thinking about, do I get to keep my home,
Right.
and that was a really sore point of all of it was, you know wanting some closure, wanting some happy memories at that place instead of the negative ones that had been kind of lingering, and doing the homework ahead and getting your ducks in a row ahead of mediation. I couldn't I couldn't encourage it more. Know the ins and outs, know what you're going to be asked to do, and strategize as much as you can ahead of it.
I agree with you. I think that was the one big thing that I learned doing this as part of my job, is that when you are married, everything is considered a marital decision whether you agreed to it or not. And
Mm-hmm.
that's a very hard lesson. I have some clients who spouses have gambling debt or
Oh,
spending debt,
yes.
and they think, oh, that was something that they did, I'm not responsible for it. And a lot of times it's, you were married, so that's marital.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of
Mm-hmm.
times you wait, right? You wait to get divorced, and so all those
Right.
things build up. Like in your case, your years of being married built up, so that means you have to pay longer. Debt builds up, so then you have to split more.
Yes.
And you
And
don't think about that because to me that's not common sense. So it wouldn't even hit a brain that that would be a
correct.
thing.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, the debt piece was a really big one because I look back at it's really interesting as you're for those that are contemplating divorce, you need to really look at your current financial picture, and be really honest with yourself about what that looks like. For me, it had been many, many years of me, um, almost in a case of like um, a reverse financial abuse. And what I mean by that is um, financial abuse is typically kind of categorized as maybe there's a spouse that's not working and there's a spouse that works, and the spouse that works
Right.
allows
We
the
have a lot of
non-working
budget,
spouse like
right?
a very meager budget. You get $20 a week, and that's what you get. And so then there's no there it's a form of control and manipulation, right? You can't go anywhere, you can't do anything. You
Right.
could leave the marriage if it was a negative situation because you don't have the financial means to do so.
Right.
And what I found myself in was the opposite. Everything was in my name, debts, loans, all the bills and things. And for me, that was another big aha, is that during the pendency of the case, so while you're waiting for the divorce to finalize, you have to maintain what's called the status quo. And that is that any bills that you are responsible for or have been responsible for paying as part of the division of your marital properties, you have to continue to pay those until the divorce finalizes.
Yep.
So for me, I had our home mortgage, which I'd paid for the 20 plus years that we had
And you
been
weren't
there.
even living there.
I wasn't even living there. I was having to pay for a temporary place to stay with my young adult kids, um, paying that mortgage, paying the mortgage on a vacation property in northern Michigan. I was paying that every month, um, and then a host of other things, car payments, other bills, um, all of that needed to continue to get paid, and that was during the divorce. It became very, very tight, very, very financially kind of a harrowing experience. And
So
and I
let's
think that's just part of doing the research too, is making sure you know that when you file for divorce, know that any bills that are in your name, you are responsible for throughout the pendency of the divorce until it finalizes. And for me, that was almost 12 months of from the time I filed until the time that we reached a settlement, and the final judgment of divorce was granted. So that's a long time. And for me, having been the bearer of all of these massive bills that were on me, it was really a challenge. And so I think that's another thing. If you're contemplating, you want to be able to keep your home, or you want to be able to do these things, you want to make sure that whoever is paying that mortgage continues to pay that mortgage and pay it in full, and pay it on time, and all of that. That was something that you know, in the end, I was glad that I was paying all of that because I could keep up on it.
I
That's
thank
okay.
you so much for sharing and doing this with me. I really,
You're
really
welcome.
appreciate your time.
Yeah, you bet. Absolutely. Well, I couldn't recommend a mortgage divorce specialist any more than I could today. I'm thankful I did it. Thankful that I had you to work with, Carrie, because you made it so much more palatable, and helped me have a clear head about what we needed to do to get that done. And I wouldn't be where I'm at today if I didn't have
Oh,
you. So thank
oh,
you.
you're so sweet. Thank you. And
Mm,
you were a pleasure to take care of. That's for
Thanks.
sure.
Appreciate it.
I hope you enjoyed the podcast. I'm Carri Goldring, and if you ever have any questions regarding mortgage, feel free to give me a call or send me a text message, 248-420-4524. Hope you enjoy the rest of your day.